Welcome to Football Americas. I was going to say secrets are no fun. Secrets are for everyone, but now it's about to be for everyone. Hey, Business Casual back with you on Monday night. Shaka, Hislop, Herculez, Gomez, business. But I do have jeans on, so maybe business casual as well. It's a hybrid. I'm the hybrid of them both. But anyway, Antonio Valle will be joining the show. It's weird just to call him Antonio. Antonio Valle will be joining us to talk about El Tri's roster. And I was saying secrets, maybe not a secret anymore. Villarreal against Barcelona coming to Miami. Yes, not only on the calendar, but somewhere completely different. I think it was only a matter of time. But first, let's keep it across the pond for now. To apologize about what happened. He said, "It kills me to let this club down. We'll work 10 times harder to make things right. Forza Milan sempre." So here's what Maxi Allegri had to say after the game. He said, "Pulisic is our penalty taker. One missed penalty does not change that. I just have to figure out who takes him if he's not on the pitch." I mean, it's not very surprising. We see this normally from coaches, right, Shaq? Just because they missed one penalty doesn't mean that you're going to kill the player's confidence and switch him out. Do you agree with Allegri's approach?
Absolutely. Given Pulisic's record from penalty spot, you do not change him after one failed penalty. Pulisic has proven himself to be as reliable as anybody in the game today. The best of takers throughout the history of this game have missed an occasion. And you stick with them. Christian Pulisic is no different. He's human. A miss was coming. It's now here. I don't see that as any reason to lose faith with him as your trusted man from 12 yards.
I know you say this is what we should expect from managers, but most managers, at least oftentimes, there are some managers who do throw players under the bus. Mm-hmm. There are some managers who do question who the penalty taker should be. So it's good to see Maxi Allegri back Christian Pulisic here. I'm 100% with Shaq on this. In fact, I'm just happy he's getting the benefit of the doubt. He's been at Milan since his third season, and we've seen instances where they fought and taken the penalty kick away from Christian Pulisic, his hands, and then other players would argue about who takes it, and it goes by the wayside. Christian Pulisic is, not my opinion, his record, a very effective penalty kick taker throughout his career. That I've seen, that I can remember, this is only the second one that I've seen him miss. He'll be gutted, not only because he missed it, because of what that goal could have meant.
Right.
That would have meant top the leaderboard in Serie A. It would have meant he continues that excellent record with a goal or an assist. That productivity, which is insane right now for a player. Certainly, with what we've grown accustomed to from Milan, it would have seen them somewhere that we've not seen them in the last 2 seasons. I like what I've seen from Maxi Allegri. I've liked what I've seen from Christian Pulisic. I love the response from Christian Pulisic. I oftentimes have criticized Christian Pulisic with how much of an introvert he can be. And it's not his fault, that's just who he is. And sometimes you can confuse that with lack of emotion, lack of confidence,
caring.
Lack of maybe apathy, it's caring. Clearly, he feels bad that he let his team down. He understands what's on the line, and I like the response from his teammates as well.
And nobody's telling him to post this, I'm imagining. Nobody's asking Christian Pulisic to work 10 times harder, Shaq, because he's the hardest worker, at least productivity-wise.
And that's the aspect of this I don't fully understand.
Yeah.
What does that mean? That you're now going to work 10 times harder? If you'd scored, you weren't going to work 10 times harder to be as good or as valuable to Milan? Listen, I'll be honest, I'm very old school here. There's a lot about social media and players on social media that I just don't understand.
Right.
This being a perfect example of it. As a fan, I guess I'm looking for the player to say something, but as a
I think
cynic,
it's the fan.
What does that mean?
I think it's the fans. I think they do it for the fans. Listen, it comes to mind 10 times stronger is Vinicius' tweet after the Ballon d'Or, and we know
how that worked out.
How that worked out. So this can, in effect, blow up in your face. But I love the fact this is a new side of Christian Pulisic. He, I think, accepts and embraces the responsibility of today being one of the faces, if not the face, of AC Milan.
I just wanted to leave it there because of the face that you were making.
I won't. I don't understand it, and I won't. So
I mean,
Never any Shaka Hislop. I'm sorry, I let that go in.
I'm going to try 10 times harder to say the next one. Yeah. What does that mean?
I think maybe it's an outlet, right? Maybe it's therapeutic to say like, hey, by the way, everybody, I do feel really bad about it because Herc, the reality of it is that he missed a big opportunity here.
Missed a big opportunity, but you know who misses big opportunities? Those who are there to take those opportunities.
Exactly.
So, listen, I understand where Shaq's coming from. I understand the sentiment of what you weren't trying before. This is, in the most respectful way, posturing. You're doing this for the fans, and I have no problem with that. He is now the leader of this team, or one of the leaders of this team, and he's trying to take on that role. And the people of Milan haven't had good moments in I don't know how long. And they've not been happy with this team in over 2 seasons. And they're coming off of a 9th-place finish. They don't have European football. He's pandering to the fans. Yes, I understand, but I'm okay with it.
I don't know if Shaq is okay with it. Those listening, Shaq is making some interesting faces here in studio too. Listen,
Okay.
One of my mentors taught me that silence sometimes makes you so uncomfortable that you want to say something. So that's the tactic that I'm trying to apply here, Shaq, with you. But I mean, that's a tactic that maybe Christian Pulisic was trying to take for so long, and he's seeing that maybe now he has to be more vocal about it. Maybe he'll take it to the national team. Who knows? But if it's not Christian Pulisic taking these penalties, let's say he's injured, knocking on wood, Allegri has to figure out who's going to be his
Who's his number 2? And
It's just going to be Luka Modric. I don't.
well, Allegri has to make that decision.
Yeah.
And again, kind of given some of the history around penalty taking with AC Milan over the last couple of years, you want your coach, manager to make that decision and the team to respect it and be firm in that selection. Now, Christian Pulisic continues to be his number 1. Great. I think that absolutely is the right thing to do. But you also, as he mentions in the statement, if Pulisic isn't available for whatever reason, he has to have a firm number 2, arguably even a number 3, and let the team know and that be established. And find opportunities maybe even where the pressure isn't as high for that number 2 to take penalties in match situations. Because, okay, if we're talking Luka Modric, he's been there, seen it, done it. He doesn't need to kind of understand what it takes, what it means in taking a penalty in a high-pressure situation. But other young players may not have taken a penalty for their club at this level, if all's on the line in a cup game, a cup semi-final, for argument's sake, whatever it is. And that only comes with experience and taking it on the day. So maybe there's an opportunity, you're winning 4-0 and you can allow your second place taker to step up and take it, then do that.
Not knowing who the number 2 penalty taker should be. I mean, he's trying to reinforce the number 1 is Christian Pulisic, and I respect that. But at the same time, like maybe he's being a little honest here because Luka Modric maybe won't be finishing out too many games.
Yeah.
And if top of my list, top of my head, well, it's got to be Rafael. But I don't know how many people have trusted or will trust Rafael these days of what they've seen in the past couple seasons.
Not Santi? Not including them?
So normally the 9 would take it, and I don't know if I want to give Santi that responsibility. It could be counterproductive. Santi Giménez is, and I'm sure we'll get into it, of the tireless work rate and things he does for the team, the dirty things that sometimes a forward has to do for the team to do well, and you don't get your goal. You get judged by goals if you're a 9. I don't know if I want to add more pressure, more onto that plate. I've seen it with the Mexican national team, and I've seen what that's done to Santi. I don't want to see it in Milan, where I think I'm starting to see some of it already.
Yeah, I was asking you just because of what you just said with Rafael. Maybe that confidence isn't there with Santiago Giménez, at least from the spot, because he's not a traditional penalty taker, not with Milan, not with the Mexican team, although in this next window we're not going to have Raúl Jiménez, but I know we're going to get into that here in a little bit. Speaking of pressure, Christian Pulisic is also on Alessandro Del Piero's mind. He talked to our Alex Pareja.
I'm going to ask you about Christian Pulisic, who is having a great start of the season with AC Milan. He's a proper number 10, as you were. What do you think about his start of the season and the expectations for the World Cup, especially being played here in the United States?
Well, his role in Milan is very clear, and he improved time by time, month by month, year by year. So now is definitely the most dangerous players for them, but not only as a striker, as a scoring goal or assist, but as a guy that can play also midfielder and get connected between midfielders and attackers. So it's physically as well. So he's doing amazing already for many years. Expectation is going to be high, yes. When you play home, when you are the most valuable player for your team, definitely the expectation is going to be high. But I think he's also reached this World Cup at the perfect age, with some experience on the shoulder and some things that happen, good and bad. So that's improve, of course, your experiences in order to achieve new things in your life. So instead of be an expectation on a high weight on his shoulder, you need to find ways to transform this one in opportunities and energy. I mean, because when you play home with your, your people, your fans, your family. You have to fly.
Del Piero definitely knows what it's like to have to carry that pressure too at the highest levels and at the most critical moments of the matches. And Christian Pulisic is starting to, I don't even want to say starting to, but knows what that responsibility is. And maybe because we haven't seen Milan, obviously, we've seen them in finals, especially last year in the Coppa. But how is this pressure at the Milan level preparing him for what Del Piero was saying? On your home soil, and as one of the most important of the national team.
Let's be honest. If it's not this show or maybe another show or a podcast talking about the U.S. men's national team and applying pressure, there is no pressure for the American players on this U.S. men's national team. There's the pressure of failing and being known as a generation that failed with all those resources, but there's no pressure on you as if you were in the Serie A, as if you were the face of a team like Milan, as if you had Corda Sur, in your face after games, demanding answers of why you're not playing well. You feel insecure. You feel intimidated. You go out and what you do is in the front page of the Gazettes, in the front page of the newspaper, is on the TV when you turn it on. You're being spoken about. That's pressure. That's pressure. Mm-hmm. Coming to the United States playing in a home World Cup, to me, that's not pressure. That's almost like you don't want to fail, but it's not the pressure you see here. If there's anybody who knows about the day-to-day pressure of Italian football and being the face of a team, it's Alessandro Del Piero. So I look at what Christian Pulisic is dealing with, and I think it's going to harden him for moments with the U.S. men's national team that maybe some other players haven't experienced, and they can lean on Christian. Even if Christian isn't a vocal player for us to see, I think he's vocal enough because he's been with these guys enough since they were 16, 17, 18 years old that they can lean on him. So that's a different type of pressure that I think he deals with on a daily basis, that he can come to the United States and maybe help out with that. But I don't see playing in a home World Cup as a pressure situation for Christian Pulisic. He's not even the prime of his career yet. He's 27 years old. He just turned it.
That's really surprising to me that you keep saying that it's not a pressure situation.
No, it's pressure to fail, but it's not pressure where, in reality, if the U.S. men's national team does fail, the next day, we may talk about it. And I'm talking we, as in the massive media, the casual media, the First Takes of the world, the other networks. But that's going to die out with the news cycle. If to the day of tomorrow, he's a massive failure with AC Milan, he's going to feel the pressure. And it's going to be lasting pressure. It won't die down in a few days. It won't die down in a week. It'll die down here. That's not pressure. You'll be known as, but you'll walk around and somebody's like, oh, that's the guy who played in a World Cup. Oh, I remember him. And that's going to be it. So there's pressure that he may put on himself, but there's a different type of pressure when you play.
I think that's the key, is a different type of pressure.
Yeah.
But I don't agree that there's no pressure. Pressure, yes, all the things that you identify in representing Milan and the pressures that come with that. But still, playing for your club is a job. I'll speak personally here. It was a job that I moved on from when the time came to move on from.
Right.
representing my national team felt totally differently. This was about identity. This is about who I was, how I grew up, who I'm representing, that you can't get away from. You can't just accept a transfer fee and move on to the next. So I feel, and especially Christian Pulisic, given all that he's represented to U.S. soccer since he kind of burst onto the scenes. Before, he was the talisman, he was easily the most talented player, he was the one that you had to somehow stifle if you hope to get any kind of result out of the U.S. Now, with that talent, he's the leader. In years gone by, there were other leaders on the field. Now he has to fill both those shoes as the most talented and the most experienced, the one that everybody turns to when they look for leadership, especially when things are down. And again, that leans into how you will be remembered. And to your point, new cycle will move on. It's soccer in the US. It's going to move on pretty quickly.
Yep.
But this is, you don't get a second bite of this cherry. How many players can say, as a host team, a host nation, I am both the best player, most experienced player, and the leader on this team. And all eyes are on us in terms of what we do and how we do, and that reflects on me, that reflects on my own identity. Regardless of how other people see me, this is how I kind of feel about myself. I just think it's very different, and one that I'm sure is playing on its mind.
I understand what you're saying with the day-to-day, where obviously you're held to such a high standard because in Italy seems like it's the end-all be-all, it's the religion. But Shaq said something really important, the fact that it's going to be on home soil at the end of the day, and maybe the American fans that don't follow this U.S. men's national team putting that pressure on and just kind of riding the bus because the World Cup is going to be here. A lot more eyes are going to be on this U.S. men's national team because of it.
Well, every World Cup, we're going to have more eyeballs. It's a 48-team tournament. We're going to have plenty of eyeballs. But they were already host country in a massive tournament that was Copa America, and they absolutely failed. They absolutely failed. First host country in the history of Copa America to not get out of the group phase.
And we're still talking about it, and it's Copa America.
Like I mentioned, just you, I, Shaq, and that's it. You're not going to... The news cycle moved on, and that's the reality of football in this country. We are a footballing country because of how it's consumed, but not in the day-to-day. That is very different. So everything Shaq says, I agree, and it applies. Just don't think it applies to the U.S. And he may have pressure internally, and his pressure could be greater on himself. And actually, I kind of do buy that he may be more pressure himself because of who he is and because of the responsibility he feels. But let's not kid ourselves. They crash out of the World Cup, and as much as fans are going to hate to hear this, the news cycle is going to take care of it, and it's going to be a newsflash after that.
Yeah, it would be a little bit more of a surprise if we see a deep run. I don't know what that would mean for the U.S. men's national team.
Now, that pressure also, I mean, what do we think they're going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Right now, I don't think people are too optimistic without even seeing the draw, how things are going right now. Now, obviously, if this were, I don't know, the lead up to 2022 and you're talking about the 2026 World Cup, you would feel they have to have pressure because you had expectations on this team.
Because Bombita will be missing out. But of course, one of the many questions for the U.S. men's national team is the number 9 spot. Here are at least 3 options for Mauricio Pochettino. Maybe there would be one more option if Ricardo Pepi wasn't again injured. And we know Herc, you've said several times that is his spot to lose. But with the ones that are available, who's the front runner? Who will be the starting 9 against Ecuador in this next round of friendlies?
Well, Ricardo Pepi had the door open, and his injury allowed other people to walk through it, and most notably Fowler Balogun, who looked very good with Christian Pulisic. I happen to think Haji Wright has done enough in a U.S. men's national team shirt to merit an opportunity as the 9. We've seen him come off and play on the wing as a left-sided winger, and we've seen him be productive for the U.S. men's national team in critical times. And I'm thinking about Jamaica being up with a minute left, and they tie the game off an own goal, and they go to overtime, and he's responsible for 2 goals that lead them into a Nations League final. Haji Wright can be that player, but right now, if I'm Mauricio Pochettino, the last thing I remember is how Folarin Balogun played with Christian Pulisic in 2 different outings, how dynamic he was, how good he was at dragging defenders, how fast he was, how decisive. He's the 9 that I think will get the call from Mauricio Pochettino. He has right now, with Mauricio Pochettino, out of these 9s, I think pole position.
Jack?
I'm going to agree, but just. And I say that I
barely agree with myself on that.
Yeah. The thing is, and you've seen Folarin Balogun play for the US men's national team, and oftentimes I've not been overly impressed. Right now, Haji Wright is a hot hand in terms of goals, certainly club goals for the season. But of course, Haji Wright is playing with Coventry City in the Championship, and you cannot compare that with Monaco in Ligue 1, playing Champions League, etc. So I'm choosing Balogun because of his experience with Monaco. And going into, and while, yes, we're still 8 months away from the World Cup, I think as we were discussing about the pressures, internal pressures that a lot of these players will start to feel and will amp up as you get closer to the tournament, I'm just leaning on those players who I think are more experienced, can understand and manage that pressure a little bit better. But make no mistake about it. Again, for me, Balogun does not often do enough in a US men's national team shirt to warrant an automatic selection.
I do not disagree with that one bit. And I will add that out of these 3, he's the one who's coming in coldest. He's the one who's finding it difficult to find playing time with Monaco. He's the one who's seeing Haji Wright score, left and right. To excuse the pun there, in different types of goals, and sees Patrick Agyemang, score his first goal. And Patrick Agyemang had more than a month to impress in 2 different times Mauricio Pochettino, and he did. January camp and the Gold Cup. So he's been there, he understands, he's got a little bit more confidence, won over with the manager. But I do think if we're going off what we saw most recently in a U.S. men's national team shirt, it's still very fresh in the minds of people. And I think Mauricio Pochettino, of how good he looked with Christian Pulisic, but I do not disagree with Shaq, and that was one of my biggest criticisms of Folarin Balogun, is that he's not exactly impressed in the U.S. men's national team jersey. Mm-hmm. Before this, the last time he impressed, and probably the only time, was against Panama in the Copa America when he scored that left-footed banger, and he put it in the upper V. It was the lone bright spot in Copa America for this group. He's not exactly been, as advertised.
Yeah, but like you said, and I know you really like that connection too between Balogun and Christian Pulisic, and I'm sure that was one of many notes here from Mauricio Pochettino, who is trying to find his ideal 11, at least for this game against Ecuador. Herc, talk us through your starting 11.
Well, this is what I feel Mauricio Pochettino will put out. I'm going with the line of 3 center backs, 5 across the back. Now, there's one little wrinkle here. I don't know why I have an inkling that Anthony Robinson, because he's got an affinity for Max Arfsten, will play as a left center back. I think he's going to try this. I really do. He'll go 3 at the back. I have Riemann, Richards, Anthony Robinson. I think he'll stick with Max Arfsten because he likes what he offers going forward. And Freeman is the only right back, nominal right back on the roster. So unless there's Timothy Weah playing there, it's going to be Freeman. I went Weston McKennie and Aiden Morris. Aiden Morris, a more true holding midfielder, with Weston allowing him to do what he does box to box. Christian Pulisic and Timothy Weah as the 2 10s. And I'm going Folarin Balogun up top.
I think it'll be interesting to see Arfsten there, where you said, because we have seen him involved. Obviously, at the defending side, maybe some insecurities or moments where he's not really sure what to do. But up top, he looks really confident. So maybe this will give him a little bit more of a window to do that, Herc.
I think Mauricio Pochettino really likes what he sees out of Max Arfsten. That's the only reason I think I have him there. I would put Anthony Robinson there. Max Arfsten has moments of unpredictability in the final third and can create something out of nothing, and is very good going 1v1. But he's also very unpredictable and unreliable in the defensive third. And we can go back to the Gold Cup or the summer friendlies before that, where he was at fault for multiple goals or causing penalty kicks. There's a lack of proper decision making in that defensive third, and sometimes in the final third. But when he goes forward and he's feeling that he has that freedom to attack, he's a very creative player. He's a player that can easily beat somebody off the dribble, and the U.S. men's national doesn't have a lot of those players, and I think Mauricio Pochettino really likes him. So I think that's what he'll do. I think at some point he'll try Anthony Robinson as a center back as well.
Okay. Shaka?
I'm not sure I'd use Anthony Robinson as a center back.
Oh, I wouldn't either.
Simply because of how much ground he covers. And I think put another centre back on if you're playing three at the back, another centre back there, maybe Miles Robinson, push Anthony Robinson out on a little further out on the left. And I think what Anthony Robinson playing wider and a little bit more attacking as an attacking wing back, it allows Pulisic to kind of drift inside if he so decides, because Anthony Robinson will cover every blade of grass up and down that left-hand side. And it just allows a little bit more flexibility in terms of what Pulisic decides to do, and in terms of, as I mentioned, making him more difficult to stifle, to quieten Christian Pulisic. That's the only thing for me. That's the only kind of, and again, well, we've discussed the centre forward position, but that's the only change from that 11 I probably would make.
Yeah, and I also think Mauricio Pochettino's thinking about the lack of playing time that Anthony Robinson's had, and maybe as a wing back to start out against a team like Ecuador, who is a very good team. Yep. And stingy defensively. They're one of the better defensive teams this side of the hemisphere. It's not a team that I would take lightly.
Yeah, absolutely not. And I'm sure Mauricio Pochettino, knowing how little time he has left, if he doesn't know that, I know he's heard the reminders enough that the World Cup is pretty much around the corner. We are almost in mid-October, so we'll have to see how they do here upcoming on Friday. Our reaction to the match will be on Saturday. Alexis Nunes, Herc, and Casey Keller at 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday on ESPN+. We have not forgotten about Javier Aguirre and Mexico, especially with the roster for the October friendlies that dropped last week. Obviously, some notable names that we're not seeing. We will get into that here in a few minutes. Some familiar faces now, one of those missing, of course, at the goalkeeping position. We will get into that. Good thing we have our resident goalkeeper here, Shaka Hislop. Hey, speaking of great names, this is not a notable absent. Au contraire, mon ami, Toño Valle, thank you so much for hanging out with us on Football Americas. So when it comes to this list, who are you happy to see? Let's start with the good news here for Javier Aguirre and Mexico. Who are you happy to see on this list?
Great to see. First, I'm happy to see you guys. A lot of clubs don't like Fecha FIFA. I like Fecha FIFA because that mostly means I get to come and visit you guys. So that makes me pretty happy. I'm happy to see you guys. Who am I happy to see? I'm happy to see the players that fortunately did not get hurt, the players that fortunately are able to be in the squad. I mean, we had a lot of scares. We have a lot of people that would have loved to see against these great teams like Colombia and Ecuador, like Raúl Jiménez, and he's not able to play these friendly games. We're not going to be able to see Gilberto Mora because he's helping the under-20 out to advance to the next round and hopefully keep on having a deep run in the tournament. I'm happy to see Santi Jimenez. I'm happy to see Malagón in a good level. I'm happy to see Ramon Juarez, who's finally getting some justice after what we've seen from him playing with America. I love seeing Marcel Ruiz because he's becoming one of my favorite players to watch when in the Liga MX. So those are the players that I'm happy to see. There are not so many surprises, Chris, because we've talked about it a lot. The pool of the Mexican player pool is not that big. There aren't so many players you can say have not been looked at up to this point by Javier Aguirre.
Yeah, and obviously we're seeing some of those names that you mentioned, some notable unavailable players. So, Toño, I'll stick with you to ask you, what will Aguirre work on given these absences?
He needs to find a right back, please. That's priority number one for El Tri. Because I think there's some sort of like resignation around Mexico. This is what we have. I think we've all really made peace with it. We're not going to find a player that will change the way Mexico is playing. Probably Gilberto Mora, but he already played during the Gold Cup. but we don't have, as of this moment, a right back. It may be Kevin Alvarez, it may be Jorge Sanchez. Everybody thought it was going to be Rodrigo Huescas, but he didn't play the Gold Cup because he had issues off the field, and Israel Reyes ended up being that right back. So it's probably going to be a battle between these three, Jorge Sanchez and Kevin Alvarez, who have their ups and downs. That's probably one of the things that had to fight against in their career. And the other one is Israel Reyes, who is not naturally a right back, but in America and in the three, when he has been asked to play the position, we gotta say he's been pretty good.
What do you think, Herc, with these, what Toño was saying? It seems like it's la historia de siempre. It's always at the right back position.
I think Javier Aguirre knows who his right back is, and I think Toño had mentioned it. I just don't think people want to hear who his right back is. It's Jorge Sanchez. You know, he didn't play Huescas, and many think it's off the field, you know, because of the driving incident that he had in Denmark, that it didn't happen. But he wasn't getting called in before that, and he didn't get called in after that. And I know people love to see what Huescas has to offer, and I'm one of them, but there are some players who just don't seem to be the cup of tea that Javier Aguirre is in store for. Julian Araujo is another player who plays right back and was playing at a high level at that time. He's not played right now for Bournemouth, but he didn't play the semifinal. He didn't play the final. And I'm not just saying play, he didn't dress. So there are some players that Javier Aguirre just doesn't seem to value. He values two players, and we've seen it. It's not the American right back, excuse me. It's Kevin Alvarez. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's not Jorge. Excuse me. It's not Kevin Alvarez. It's not Huescas. It's not Julian Araujo. It's Israel Reyes and Jorge Sanchez. Those are the two players that he will use. And depending on the rival, he will use a more stay-at-home traditional right back with Israel Reyes, or a guy that can go forward a little bit more in that tank in terms of speed, like a Jorge Sanchez. And that's it. I think Javier Aguirre has been very straightforward and shown us his cards. It's just sometimes we don't want to accept those cards.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, especially still having to figure it out here, and you don't have all of your players available. We know that one of those that is missing, obviously, with that recent injury, very strange in that celebration. Raúl Jiménez is unavailable here. I mean, the Huescas thing, too, it's a season-ending knee injury. We'll have to say that. So for him, we'll have to see how long he will be sidelined at the time. But when we talk about, obviously, the list of Jesse Marsch's men, your boy Jonathan David is, of course, on there. Herc as well, but others, of course, with Kyle Laren. We just saw a standout game here from Luaseyi as well over the weekend. But speaking of Jonathan David, sat down with our Herc on the Vamos podcast. Let's listen.
David, but I got to talk about the big move, Juventus. When did you first hear that Juventus was interested, and what were your immediate reactions?
During last season, I don't know exactly when, but just during last season, there was talks, of interest maybe that they wanted to sign me on a free in the summer. But it's just rumors saying like we're interested and, we might do something. And yeah, it was only towards the end of the season that I started to get serious that, we really want to do something, and starting to speak a bit more to my agent about contract situations and things like this.
I mentioned you're the best 9 in CONCACAF. You proved me right last year. You were scoring goals like it's your job, because it's your job. Not only in Ligue 1, you were scoring them in the Champions League against some big teams, massive teams. What was it about Juventus that sold you to the project?
I think Juventus is a massive club, with massive history. Obviously, I think in the last 5-6 years, maybe they're not where they want to be, but it was a club with a great sporting project with ambitions to get back to the top. So for me, I wanted to be part of that, and yeah, from there, let's go.
JD, just between us, nobody's listening. What type of teams were interested in Jonathan David? What type of leagues were interested in Jonathan David?
We had some interest in the Prem. In Serie A, also different offers, Saudi.
You've got the ability to stretch defenders, but you also have the ability to play as a 9.5 and almost play make. What suits Jonathan David more?
Depends what the game requires. I try to see early on in games what the defenders are giving me, what the game requires for my team, And after I try to adapt. And sometimes, sometimes I may get it wrong. Maybe sometimes I check in too much when I should be stretching the line. Maybe, but I think after the coach will correct me and say, you need to do runs in behind a little bit more. And after we see.
How does that differ from what you're asked on the Canadian national team? What Juventus asked from you and what Jesse Marsch asked from you, is it different?
Yeah, in Juventus, I'm the highest man forward. And in Canada, sometimes, there's wingers higher than me, a striker that's there because we're playing with two. So for me, my job in Canada is to connect the midfield to the forwards, to try to find the space to help the team progress forward and to create chances for the team and also to score them. When in Juventus, mostly is just you have to score.
You're Canada's all-time leading goal scorer, and you helped them get to a World Cup for the first time in 36 years. In Qatar 2022, Canada was just happy to be back in the show. What's the mindset going into this next World Cup experience for you guys?
It's achieve new things, scoring a goal, first of all, winning a game, and after that, we just build from there.
Frustrated, he had what looked like a sitter, couldn't get his feet sorted after it was deflected, and he missed that. He's got 1 goal, 1 assist in 5 Serie A games, 7 games total if you include Champions League. He's a big striker at a big club. You want to score goals. You need to score goals. He's so good at all these different things, playing underneath as a 9.5, playmaking, facilitating. But if you're this is where we're going. If you're Jonathan David,
If
you're Jonathan David, you want to score goals.
Right.
You understand that's why you were brought to Juventus. It's not Jesse Marsch's Canada where you have the equity and they ask you to do different things. They're asking you to be the 9. You got Vlahovic on the bench. You've got players with big salaries who perform on big platforms on the bench because they believe in you. You have to be that 9. You were the 9 in Belgium. You were the 9 in Ligue 1 for a team like Lille, the all-time leading goal scorer. You've left your mark every single place you've been. This has to be the same type of situation, and it has to be that soon.
I mean, it was a scoreless September for Jonathan David. His last goal came August 24th, his debut with the team. Obviously, this is the way that you want to come out here. But that begs the question then, is it calm or alarm here for Jonathan David?
It's when you see the stat, no shots on target since that last goal. I'm not sure how you remain calm about that.
Yeah.
That is concerning. I mean, the alarm is blaring at this point. I understand it takes some time to settle in with a big club, new demands, new coach, new system, new everything about that kind of move. Is difficult for any player. And yes, to your point, Christina gets off to a good start, but still, that should help you settle down. And I understand there's a settling in period, but as a striker, you are judged on one thing and one thing only. That's goals. If you cannot even hit the target, I'm not sure where you find any kind of understanding out of that.
Yeah, and I mean, as a striker yourself, I mean, what goes through your head, Herc, to kind of get out of this?
Well, it doesn't help that you've got a very good striker in Vlahovic who is a goal scorer, who is breathing down your neck. And regardless of what we're told about his salary and how high that is and his eventual departure, he's still there. Yeah. He's still there. And he's coming off the bench, in games like against Dortmund, and he's scoring goals and he's getting situations to be dangerous when you're not being dangerous. And if you're Jonathan David, you've got to defend yourself the only way you can, which is put the ball in the back of the net. I think Jonathan David's going to be fine. I'm not too worried about this. It is a massive club, so he should be a little worried about this. I've seen enough of Jonathan David, his qualities, to know that one gets in, the next one will get in, and eventually, from what I've seen with Juventus, they seem to have ridden the ship a bit. He's going to be fine. But it doesn't bode well when you know your quality and you can't show it. Not having a shot on goal, that's worrisome. No. If we're sitting here talking about the ones he's missed, okay, that's fine. I'm not too worried because he's getting opportunities. I'm worried when he doesn't get those opportunities, and he's not getting those opportunities right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure the one who is the least calm about this situation is Jonathan David himself. Maybe this break here with Canada will, that mental break, but still also staying in that competitive form that we know him to have. And that's why you still have that great confidence in someone like Jonathan David, because he has proven it time and again. It seems like the season is just getting started, so it's not over yet here for Jonathan David. Let's take it to La Liga and Serie A, who communicated an interesting statement here today, at least via UEFA. Said UEFA has today reiterated its clear opposition to domestic league matches being played outside their home country. However, given that the relevant FIFA regulatory framework currently under review is not clear and detailed enough. Continuing on the statement, the UEFA Executive Committee has reluctantly taken the decision to approve on an exceptional basis the two requests referred to it. The question is obviously, are you cool with it? I'm laughing because it feels like when my parents very reluctantly would let me go to a party.
Exactly.
Right? Exactly the wording of it. Hi, Mom and Dad. But are you cool with it, Shaq, that they very reluctantly approved it?
I'm concerned in that, given all the words that UEFA statement just used and reference a regulatory framework. Leagues are conducted on the premise of balance. That you play each team home and away, and everybody is subject to those same regulations, those same rigors. Now, I understand that kind of again, given the ambiguity of FIFA's regulations, as they say, that are now under review. They have to allow these games to continue. What stops any other team in La Liga saying we want to move a game? I just don't feel that, given that balance, given that parity, given that leagues run on, you are powered to say otherwise till at least the end of the season. That if it's good enough for them, then we should be able to move a game to somewhere else if we so desire. And that, for me, just throws up a very concerning set of protocols here between now and the end of the season that I'm not sure UEFA or indeed La Liga are prepared to address.
You're opening Pandora's box here. You have to be ready for it. This is Villarreal Barcelona. AC Milan versus Como in Australia is going to be next. And now you can't say no to anybody. And if you're a league that would love more commercial value or would love to capitalize on the value you already have within the continental United States, for example, like Liga MX, you are foaming at the mouth.
Right.
You draw preseason games of 100,000 people in Los Angeles at the Rose Bowl. You understand the commercial value here. What Shaq's talking about, the competitive balance, is what would worry me if I were a team that's fighting promotion relegation. And right now, Villarreal is in good standing. They're in Champions League position. They're third place. Their own fans should be a little worried that home game is being taken away and, quite frankly, will be put into a pro-Barcelona environment, and those points could slip away. Now, it's Villarreal today. The day of tomorrow, it could be a relegation battler. And if you're an opponent that is hoping that game is played in a stronger venue against Barcelona for your own benefit, et cetera, that could be put in jeopardy there. But the commercial value here, I mean, from a TV side, being somebody who works in TV, like it makes so much sense. Like, this is what they wanted to do the Superliga for. And this is why they're taking it to Miami. And Shaq, you were there. We were part of the coverage in Miami and what the Clásico in Miami was. It's going to be a commercial success. And let's not kid ourselves. Some of these teams, Barcelona included, is in massive financial strain. Right. This is going to help them.
And while we understand the commercial value, and again, especially us sitting here in the States, this is a huge benefit to us. It's just around the corner, so to speak, or sitting a whole lot closer than it was. But what's stopping Real Madrid, Getafe, Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia, the SPF or whatever it's called, paying 100 million. Let's come play this game over here.
Yeah.
Nothing is stopping that.
Super Cup again.
You know, what's stopping Betis taking up an offer from China for 100 million? And this is money that they would never be able to recognize, even at home, playing at home. Now all of a sudden, you're getting paydays. You're selling your games to the highest bidder because you're allowed to, because of the ambiguity of this regulatory framework. You're selling games to the highest bidder. And that now puts you in a far stronger financial position than clubs around you in terms of how you build for next season, everything. Yes. You are basically selling out to the highest bidder. Yeah. There's the potential of just selling out these games to the highest bidder.
Or market manipulation.
Exactly. And that for me is where this major issue is. So it's great that we get to sit here and talk about this game on our air, and we can go down to Miami and what it means for those fans. But from a bigger picture perspective, it's, to use Herc's term, it really is opening Pandora's box.
Yeah, it's concerning. And I know that we see it at the NFL level. We see it at MLB level. I mean, we saw NFL games in London recently. We see college football now going to Dublin to start their seasons. I just hope logistically they're willing to take on what the NFL takes on, which is if you go to London, you have a bye week the next week. And I don't know if there's more than one game during the season because we know what happens as well logistically in the calendar that's already overflowing for these players. But it really reeks of just FIFA money. Again, speaking of FIFA money, this upcoming window for Argentina does have both Lionel Messi and Rodrigo de Paul on this list for Lionel Scaloni. The question is, for Inter Miami fans, how happy are they to see these two names participating in these friendlies, considering that the road to the Shield, or the race to the Shield more likely, is still very much on for them? Herc, are you cool with it?
No, the Shield is done. They could only better themselves in like the placing of postseason.
Right.
You know, that ship is sailed. I'm 100% cool with it. We can sit here and say, like, do Messi and Rodrigo de Paul really need to play against Puerto Rico? Do they really? Well, probably, because that's part of the contract that Argentina signed. If you want to not be cool with this as an Inter Miami fan or as a Major League Soccer fan, take that up with your league who doesn't abide by the FIFA calendar.
Right.
It's a FIFA fixture date. You're playing on a FIFA fixture date, that's not your player anymore. That player belongs to their national team. And their national team obviously is doing now a tour. And while it may affect you in the standings, and I understand that, if you are Inter Miami, you're not only worried about FC Cincinnati, about trying to beat them out and have home field advantage in the East, but you're also worried about potentially doing better than some of the teams in the West because you want to potentially host MLS Cup if you do get past the teams in the East. So this means something for you. Talk to your league. Abide by the calendar. It's as easy as that.
Shaq?
My concern around this is less about Inter Miami and their position going into the playoffs and what games they'll be missing. Rodrigo de Paul and Lionel Messi will be missing, but more around the players themselves. In that we're just 8 weeks removed from Lionel Messi missing the All-Star game for rest. Now you have an opportunity at a friendly and an international window. Unless he's taken up the invite to go and rest, I question some of those decisions. And going back to that, and again, I'm not a big fan of all-star games to start with, so I was totally sympathetic to Lionel Messi there. Right. But now with this, it makes you wonder.
I think I don't think the moment the contract is signed with Puerto Rico play against Puerto Rico, the promoter, I'm sure there's a clause in there, with Messi worth so much, without Messi worth so much. So, you know, and it's his national team, and it's, you know how Messi feels about his national team. He will always be there for his national team. I don't think MLS or Inter Miami have a leg to stand on right now. I really don't.
In that respect, no. They don't have, and that's, when your national team calls you in an international window, you go.
Yeah.
The league does not have a say in this.
Yeah, but it seems, at least for Lionel Messi, for Rodrigo de Paul, I mean, when producer Bets and I were talking about this, I went straight to what you just said about Leo Messi missing the All-Star game. We know that he's had some, I mean, he's missed time with Inter Miami. He's missed time with Argentina. So maybe he's trying to make up for some lost time here with Argentina, because let's be real. If Lionel Messi is willing and able to go to the World Cup, there's no question that his name will or won't be on the list. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, he's going to be Messi and 25 other players.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to Herc's point, and Herc's absolutely right, this is about the contract that was signed and nothing else. Because, truth be told, Christina, you're right, Lionel Messi goes as long as he's fit, come next summer, regardless of, what, 38 now or whatever it is. The issue here almost is Lionel Messi himself, in that while we talk about a player who's 38 years old, he still approaches this game like a kid. You call me, I'm going to play. You know, you come ring my doorbell, I'm going to come outside and play. And that's the concern. And on the one hand, it's great to witness. It's great for us to witness.
Of course.
To see somebody as talented as he is, who's won as much as he has, just still have this kind of boyhood exuberance about playing. But he's 38 years old. There's a World Cup in 8 months. You've got to manage that. Somebody has got to be the adult in the room when you come ringing on Lionel Messi's doorbell.
I love that, too. He has to ask his wife if he can go outside and play with the neighborhood kids. But we want to remind you that ESPN FC is available daily on ESPN+.